Alright, hey, how's it going, guys? TND coming back at you. So this week's TWAB was a bit of a surprise as the Sandbox team went over all of the ability changes coming in Season 19 next month. Many of these changes are meant to rein in some of the more overpowered 3.0 subclasses. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll notice some pretty solid buffs to the Stasis subclasses, and especially Stasis Warlock. With that in mind, I wanted to show off what I think is one of the best endgame PVE builds in the entire game, the famed Infinite Stasis Turret build. Let's check it out. Alright, getting right into it, ignore the gorgeous Guardian for a moment and let's jump right into the subclass itself. You got your Rift of Choice and your Jump of Choice. I am pretty bad at the game, so Healing Rift and Strafe Jump for me. You got your melee, and very importantly, the Cold Snap grenade. Do not forget, the Cold Snap is very important to this build. Now, if you look at the notes in the TWAB, you'll notice that these did get a slight tweak to help them track moving enemies better. I think this is mainly a PvP change, but it's going to help in PvE as well, so I will take it. First of our two aspects is going to be Bleak Watcher. Press and hold the grenade button to convert your stasis turret that fires slow-moving projectiles at nearby enemies. I kid you not, this thing is probably the best crowd control ability in the entire game. It is so powerful that it's actually pretty unnecessary in most lower end content. It freezes everything in sight and basically trivializes anything lower than GM level content. Our second aspect is going to be Glacial Harvest. Freezing targets create stasis shards around frozen targets. Higher tier combatants create more shards. Now we'll be taking advantage of this mainly with one of our mods, but one of the issues with this aspect has always been the cooldown. Well, one of the Season 19 changes is going to be they're reducing the crystal generation cooldown from 15 seconds to 10 seconds, which is pretty significant, and I'm excited to get my hands on to see what it feels like. Moving on to our fragments, we get 4 slots and are going to be using all of them to help buff this build big time, both in terms of ability uptime as well as adding some extra base stats in a few key places. First is Whisper of Durance. Slow from your abilities lasts longer. For those abilities that linger, their duration will also have an increased effect. This fragment does pair with Bleak Watcher, so the longer you can have those bad boys out there freezing everything, the better. Next is Whisper of Chains. While you are near frozen targets or a friendly stasis crystal, you take reduced damage from targets. Now admittedly, this is the one fragment you could swap out as it's less necessary in lower level activities, but obviously you'll be around frozen targets and stasis crystals practically all the time with this build, and who doesn't love more damage reduction? You could totally swap this out for Whisper of Fissures for some added AoE damage, and I wouldn't knock you for it one bit. You live your life the way you want to. I ain't gonna judge. Next is Whisper of Conduction. Nearby stasis shards track to your position. This is more for quality of life reasons, so you're not stuck running around getting your Glacial Harvest on every few seconds. If you're a big fan of the mod Seeking Wells, then this is the fragment for you. Finally, we have Whisper of Shards. Shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional stasis crystals increases the duration of this benefit. Pretty self-explanatory here. This is a grenade spam build, and we want as much grenade energy as we can fit in our magical little paws. Speaking of those paws, going back to our character here, you want to shoot for triple hundreds in Resilience, Recovery, and Discipline. 100 Resilience is a blanket 40% damage reduction in PvE and is basically like easy mode right now, so enjoy it before they nerf it next month. 100 Recovery to get your health and rift back faster, and 100 Discipline obviously for the grenade recharge rate. If you want to see a video on how I make builds, as well as a stupid simple armor farm I do to get triple hundreds, let me know in the comments, I'll add it to my schedule. Getting into our armor, you'll need at least 2 solar pieces of gear and 1 stasis piece of armor, otherwise it's pretty flexible. On your helmet, you mainly want to prioritize Harmonic Siphon for those orbs on stasis weapon kills. You should be using stasis weapons in this build, and it's only 1 energy. On your arms, if you can squeeze it, I do recommend 1 grenade kickstart mod. I know it's a bit expensive, but like I said, we're trying to spam here. Also, do not run 2 of these, it's not worth it. Chest pieces for resist mods, pick your favorite flavor, doesn't matter to the build. Legs, same thing, nothing important. For your class item, you definitely want this guy solar for the bomber mod, and double bomber if you have the energy for it. As you can see, I do not, but double bomber is great. Getting into the main engine of the build, everything starts with this guy right here, Elemental Shards. Stasis shards count as stasis elemental wells for you. We're going to pair this with Elemental Charge so that every time we grab a crystal, we get charged with light ×2. Now this is where things get intense, so strap in. Firepower. While charged with light, regain a portion of your grenade energy when you use your grenade, consuming 1 stack of charge with light. And most importantly, oh yeah, these guys stack. So not only can you run 1 of these, but you can run 2, 3, Actually, okay, so you can only run 3 in this case. There are diminishing returns, however, but generally the more the merrier here. Since I personally like to lean into my weapon damage a little more, I went with 2 firepowers and 1 copy of Font of Might. Picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass grants a temporary bonus to weapon damage of that same elemental type. Remember, in our case, stasis crystals count as elemental wells, so the uptime on this is going to be fairly high as well. And I almost forgot about our spiky boys here. Our armor exotic of choice is the osmiomancy gloves. Cold snap grenades have an additional charge and recharge quicker on direct impact. The seeker from the cold snap also travels further. Now, while we are mostly using this exotic for the second grenade charge, don't go sleeping on the base cold snaps, especially with the season 19 changes to tracking coming down the pipe. Also, that description does sell them a bit short, because most of the time in my experience, a direct hit with a cold snap is just going to instantly refund your grenade. So don't feel like you need to charge that turret every time you throw your grenade. The cold snaps are pretty good in their own right. Now, before we get into the gameplay loop, just a quick word on the weapons. The best stasis weapon in the entire game right here, hands down, next to Salvation's Grip of course, Agger's Scepter. Not only does the exotic trait refill the mag on kill, final blows also add more slowing to the already massive storm of slows and freezes our turrets are dishing out. Even better, the catalyst allows for an alternate firing mode that drains your super and turns it into a goddamn meme beam that chunks everything it touches. It's an awesome weapon that I recommend for any stasis build. Next up is Forbearance, the best ad clearing special in the entire game with its crafted god roll of Ambitious Assassin and Chain Reaction. And yeah, go ahead and run double special. I promise you will not run out of ammo. With the way the game gives out ammo, double special basically gives you infinite heavy as a trade-off. Try it, you won't regret it. Speaking of heavies, we have my baby right here, crafted Palmyra with auto-loading and explosive payload. Especially given that you have tons of uptime on Font of Might with this build, let me tell you, those hot swaps never felt so good. And that brings us into the general gameplay loop here, and it's really about little optimizations. Pop your rifts off cooldown every time for grenade energy. Always try to toss your turrets into spawn points to cause traffic jams of frozen acolytes just waiting for your rocket launcher to thaw them out. Always keep an eye on that chart with the light counter, but other than that, this build is kind of foolproof, you know? Perfect for terrible players like myself. Definitely try this bad boy out when Season 19 drops on December 6th. That being said, let me know in the comments what you think of this build and what are some other builds you want to see from me. I do have a community Discord server where me and my gang of nerds hang out and talk about movies, gaming, and generally all things nerd. You're more than welcome to come join us. Links are in the description below. But anyway, that's going to be all for me, guys. Enjoy the Lost Sector gameplay footage, and I'll catch you in the next one. Happy hunting, Guardians.